Elvis is the newest musical biopic, of course, telling the entire life story of the king of rock and roll, Elvis Presley, or Presley, however you want to say it. I'm not sure which one is still the correct one to this day, and I was beyond excited for this film. This is probably, at least it probably was my most anticipated film for the rest of the year because it's Elvis. Do I really have to say more? No, I don't think so. So, of course, I was very interested in this movie. I was worried at times, but also just super intrigued because it's so hard to make films like this. But I think this movie, it's so different from what I expected, but I actually really enjoyed that. Baz Luhrmann, I think that's how you say his name, is a very interesting director. Although I haven't seen a lot of his things, I know that he has a very unique style. I actually own Moulin Rouge, but I still haven't seen it. I bought it quite a few months ago, but I have seen his 1996 or 7 Romeo and Juliet, which, again, it's the dialogue from, of course, the original story, but setting it in modern day. So he always has this interesting twist, and here, I mean, it's just amazing. This movie is very flashy, and there are tons of montages and stuff, and I think that it kind of worked. It throws you off at first, and I was like, ooh, this is different, but it honestly, in the end, worked and really affects you. I think that it kind of puts you into the story more, and one thing I will say, just kind of right off the bat, is that you will either love this movie style or you will hate it. I feel like there really won't be an in-between there. There will be people who just love it and think it's one of the best things they've seen in years, and there will be people that think it's awful. And I think that this movie has a ton of just phenomenal things about it. Although there are a few bumps along the road. This is a mostly smooth road, but there are a few potholes here, and one of those is these random remixes and, like, I don't know, covers of Elvis's songs. Some like are normal, but like the Doja Cat one I've never liked. I don't know, it just feels unnecessary. And there are some throughout the film. Yes, there's even a Jack White one, which is, you know, that one's okay. But I mean, like the ones where they take Hound Dog or something and they try to change it into their own thing. And I'm like, it's a musical biopic about Elvis Presley. Why are you trying to add all these random new artists and having them do their own spin on it during his biopic? I mean, that part didn't really make sense to me, and it's 2 hours and 40 minutes, and I will say in that first act, sometimes it drags a little bit, but it hits a certain point, I won't say when it is, that starts to pick up, and this is kind of like a mixed thing. I don't really dislike this, but I don't love it. It jumps around a lot, so I feel like for some viewers, that could be a little bit confusing to tell what time you're in, what year, and all that, but everything else is truly amazing about the movie. But the one thing I have to talk about it, Austin Butler gives the performance of a lifetime. There is no way that this guy can outact himself anymore. I mean, his performance here is unbelievable. He has every single thing down. I know that in interviews, at least in like the past week or two, he's talked about how he's actually having trouble speaking like himself because he forgets how it goes because he just got so used to it. They shot this film, they started back in 2019. I saw the first camera test today before I saw the film, and it's just crazy to see how much time went into this film, and the set design is just, it's flawless. I'll talk about that in a bit, but Austin Butler has everything down. A lot of people will be like, oh, why didn't they just get an Elvis impersonator? I know people will always be saying that, or they'll always complain about stuff like this. And I honestly think this is one of, possibly one of the hardest performances to do, just because Elvis is just, obviously he's the king of rock and roll, but he's just one of the biggest celebrities, performers, everything of all time. Still today, people, millions of people still listen to him today. So that's obvious, but I think that Austin Butler's performance is great because a lot of people can nail the singing and maybe the moves, but what the Elvis impersonators might not be able to do is just the talking and the little mannerisms behind the scenes. Again, I am an Elvis fan. I would say I'm above average Elvis fan, but I'm not like a diehard one. So I don't know everything, of course. So I don't know if some of the things here were inaccurate, but I believe that for the most part, this seemed very accurate. and I think that Austin Butler just knocked it out of the park. He knocked it out of like 5 parks here. I think this is one of the best performances I've seen in years. This will easily be one of the best of the decade, and it's 2022 now, and I can already confidently say that. And of course, Tom Hanks is never bad, and here he's really great as well. He's almost unrecognizable, and I think that the story can kind of drag a little bit when it's focusing more so on his character. That's not a shot at him at all. That's just the fact that they focus on the management side, which again makes it a little bit different, but also interesting because that whole thing with him and Elvis was very important, of course, and you see the impact it had on Elvis here, and I think it was a really interesting path to take. I think people will either, again, love that or they will hate it. So this movie probably will divide people, but I think more people really enjoy it. I think it is a great film. It is gorgeous. Not only is the cinematography great, but just the set designs and the makeup. Oh my god, the makeup even on Austin Butler's Elvis is just unbelievable. His eyes just look amazing. I mean, he obviously looks amazing. He's an attractive guy. He's playing somebody that everybody fell in love with back when he came out and still probably loved to this day. And I just think that they did an incredible job with the makeup, the hair, everything's perfect, but the sets and the costumes, oh my god. It's of course very colorful because it is Baz Luhrmann. I think that's how you say his name, and I just really enjoyed it. It really felt like an experience. After it ended, I saw it with my Oma, and after it ended, she was like, oh, I'm gonna need a minute, and that's how I think everybody in the theater felt, because when the credits started rolling, everybody kind of sat there for a minute and just kind of listened. It was like, it felt like you were really in another world here, and I felt so deep into the story here. There are lots of things I learned here and other things I knew, but I kind of felt like there was a deeper dive, especially with Elvis's inspirations, because I assume that most of, if not all of us, know that all of this rock, everything rock, came from blues, and this film really dives deep into that in the first act, which I thought was really interesting. I think that is some of the best parts of the movies, is spending time with some legends of that genre. I won't say who, but I just thought it was really cool. I think that this film is really great. If you are an Elvis fan, even if you're just surface level Elvis fan, check this out. You will really enjoy it. Again, just know going in, it is different, it is very flashy, but it works. The story is told in a very odd way, but it works for Elvis and Austin Butler. I mean, it's worth going to see the movie just for him alone, but there's all these other factors that are incredible. Elvis tells the King story in a flashy, unorthodox way. You're either gonna love or hate Luhrmann style, but I really enjoyed it. Butler gives the performance of a lifetime, and you can never go wrong with Tom Hanks. This film feels like more of an experience with a few bumps along the way, but I still highly recommend seeing it. I'm going to give Elvis a 4 out of 5. I think that while rewatching, that grade could definitely go up. Again, I came out of the theater maybe 2 hours ago, and that's what all these reviews are, but I just think that this film is incredible. Yes, there are some weird things with the musical choices that aren't Elvis, and I know that some other people have complained about that, so I know I'm not the only one. There are some weird choices here, but overall, I think that it is just a phenomenal film. It's very different from what you would expect. I think that it actually does add something new to the genre, because a lot of these films feel like they can be recycled and they don't really matter, but this one feels like, I don't know, in a much more subtle way, somehow in a flashy movie, if that makes sense. I don't really know, but if you've seen Elvis, let me know what you think of it down below. What is your favorite Elvis song? Mine is If I Can Dream. I love how they included that in this film. And thank you all for watching. I will see you guys next time. Over and out.